trivalent understanding noetics. This is class number 5. I got the number right. Last time I said 3, it was really 4. Okay. First thing we do is do the preamble. So everybody, you too, put your feet flat on the floor, if you can, when you can. Head up at 45 degrees. You don't want to hold it level. You don't want to hold it down. 45 degrees up. Activate your front lobe. Take a deep breath in. Let it out. Another deep breath in. Let out more than you took in. Last cleansing breath in. And out. Now visualize these images as you repeat after me. I will live in the light.
I will live in the light.
Warmed by truth and embraced by grace.
Warmed by truth and embraced by grace.
I will remain a defender of the symbols of life.
I will remain a defender of the symbols of life.
I will eliminate evil.
I will eliminate evil.
Evil is the shadow of lies.
Evil is the shadow of lies
that seeks to blot the illumination of the human spirit.
That seeks to blot the illumination of the human spirit.
Evil cannot grow in my life.
Evil cannot grow in my life.
Unless it is cultivated by hate.
Unless it is cultivated by hate.
Watered by the clouds of guilt and shame.
Watered by the clouds of guilt and shame.
And fertilized by the fetid fowl.
And fertilized by the fetid fowl.
Veiled fruits of fear.
Veiled fruits of fear.
Such as envy.
Such as envy.
Greed. Jealousy. Fear of lack.
Fear of lack.
Fear of truth.
Fear of truth.
Fear of pain.
Fear of pain.
Fear of death.
Fear of death.
Or the worst fear of all.
Or the worst fear of all.
Fear of fear itself.
Fear of fear itself.
As I eliminate. Fear. Guilt, shame. And hate. The light of my spirit will grow brighter and brighter.
The light of my spirit will grow brighter and brighter.
Unconsciously giving permission. For all around me. To do the same. Ashe. All right. Now, we're ready to get into class number 5. But before we get there, 2 things. When my students talk to me about feeling teary and feeling the urge to cry, and I had not explained to her or to you about tears. Well, I was down in Huntsville, Alabama, University of Alabama, Huntsville. I was doing research. This was about almost 20 years ago now. I was doing research on the things that led to the trivalent understanding, and one of the things I decided to research for some strange reason was tears. But I told you I was a strange guy, so I researched a lot of strange things. The significant thing about this, before I even found the information I'm about to give you, is that I found out that this work, which was done the year before, was the first work that had ever been done on the chemical composition of tears. It turns out that this researcher found out that tears were made up of the breakdown products of the chemicals your brain uses, specifically your limbic system uses, to make you feel emotions. The tears, when you were happy, were made from the breakdown products of the chemicals your brain used to make you feel happy. The tears that you cried when you were sad were made of the breakdown products that your brain used to make you feel the emotion sadness, and so forth and so on. So it occurred to me and him that tears were your way of releasing the nerve chemicals that your brain used to make you feel emotions. It was a waste removal system. If you do not remove this waste, it backs up. And almost every system in your body has what's called a feedback mechanism, so that everything that it produces causes less production. You get a high level of what it produces, and its ability to produce goes down, 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 down. So what does that mean? If you don't release those tears that happen when you're sad, sadness builds up in you, and your ability to create that emotion goes down. If you don't cry when you're disappointed, the chemicals that your brain uses to make you feel disappointed goes down. And that's something that you have a decreased ability to do. You are cleansing your emotional matrix every time you cry. And those who do not cry, and we know some of those too, they're all emotionally stuffed in. They're repressed emotionally. And they have decreased ability to experience emotions. Now, I don't think that's what any human being wants. But unfortunately, the culture, at least one of the cultures that makes us Americans, it goes around telling people not to cry. Big boy, don't cry. Grow up. Babies do that. That's not human. I was about to say that's crazy, but that's not as precise. That's not human. Human beings cry as a way to release the emotional chemicals they use to feel those emotions so that you can do that again. Okay. That makes sense?
Yes, it does.
Makes sense, Steve? Great. Now, we last time went over Face Up. How you like Face Up?
I do.
That's a great thing. The non-surgical facelift called Face Up. It's an exercise for your face. Most people never exercise their face. And as a result, the muscles of their face never get toned. And the effects of gravity, one of our major enemies, works on our face. We get droopy. It starts sagging. These start going down. It starts all lining and wrinkling up. That's not supposed to happen to toned muscles. And it doesn't. That's why this face looks like this at about 70 years old. And it's going to pretty much look like this forever. And you must realize that, of course, I didn't start doing this when I was young. I didn't start doing this until I was past 55. So think what I would look like if I started doing it when I was 35. Everybody can do this. Face Up is one of the trivalent exercises because it has an exercise for your spirit, the images that you visualize, the affirmations for your mind to enrich and enable your mind, and the physical exercise for the muscles of your face to tone and keep them more useful. Okay, that's the second trivalent tool we have. The affirmations of the wounded soul is the first one. So you have been given, in addition to vector augmentation, that changes how your body functions, don't it? In 133 seconds. You've gotten a whole bunch of the trivalent understanding, at least understood. Changes how you see life, doesn't it? And your living takes on a whole new meaning. Now, today, okay. Article that the plain dealer wrote about me when I first came to Cleveland. Obviously, it was meant to be mentioned. That's me. That's me. Big time doctor quits being big time doctor and starts teaching 7th grade science at Elliott Junior High School. I love teaching there. The Blessings of Slavery. One of my first books, and it has all of the tools of the trivalent understanding in it, in a edutainment adventure story. Written for American audiences, so it has plenty of sex and violence. But none of the sex or none of the violence is gratuitous. It's all meant to teach you lessons and teach you some history and anthropology about human beings. Okay. But today, what I was going to say before the plaque jumped down, Mimi, was that today we're going to take a test. So, I would like you to take a piece of paper, ma'am, and put your name on the top of it. I got the paper right here. Here's a pen. Name and date at the top of it. Okay. And you at home, get your piece of paper. Put your name at the top of it and today's date, whatever that might be. Okay. Okay, question number 1. What are you? Now, lots and lots of correct answers to every question anybody will ever ask you. My asking is about the trivalent answer to these questions. What are you? A mammal. That's the right answer. That's not the answer I'm looking for. I'm looking for the trivalent answer. Okay, got it? Second question. What's the difference between understanding and knowing? She smiled when I said that. She heard the question, she took a pen and she said, yeah, I got to write this thing Okay, dog. You ready? Last question is real simple question. What's your purpose? What is your purpose? What's your purpose? Did y'all know? Don't you think it's important? I do. Okay. Now let me get ready because I'm going to have to get up from here. First question. What are you? What did you put?
I am a spiritual being.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good. It would have been even better if you said, I am a spirit, mind, and a body. I am a trivalent being. Second question. What's the difference between understanding and knowing?
Understanding is information that you have heard. Knowing is information that you feel.
Whoa! I'd say that's correct. I'd say that is correct, as I'll get out. My specific words are understanding is an intellectual process, and yeah, that's something that you think about. And knowing is emotional, spiritual. It's something that you feel, just like you said. Yeah. we come down to the last question, and believe it or not, this is a question that's going to lead on into the rest of today's lesson. What's your purpose?
My purpose is to live as a trivalent being.
Trivalent being. Magnificent, fantastic. That is most definitely correct. But when you answer a question, generally when somebody asks you, you tell them what you think. And you're going from inside the cerebral hemispheres. But today we're going to give you an exercise, another tool, that will allow you to get a different answer to that question or any question. One of the things I told you earlier is that we contact the Most High by holding our heads up at 45 degrees, because the most superior portion of your brain is the portion that you're using most preferentially. And this, your frontal lobe, is where you connect to the Most High at. So, we're going to give you an exercise that will allow you to do that more easily. The difficulty that most human beings have in communicating with their higher power is themselves. We do a whole lot of self-talk. And that self-talk gets in the way of listening to and asking questions of your higher power. So what we're going to do is, I'm going to ask you to hold your head up at 45 degrees, close your eyes, and then with your eyes closed, I'm going to touch a spot on your forehead, and I want you to look at that spot on your forehead. Then while you're looking at that spot on your forehead, I want you to ask that spot with your spirit, what is my purpose? Then I want you to imagine a big eraser coming across that spot and moving your mind out of the way. And in that empty space, you will feel an answer. Now, do not be concerned or frustrated if you don't hear words, because you generally won't. But what you will do is feel the answer. Now, generally, when I try to ask the Most High an answer to a question, I generally try to ask questions that have a yes/no answer. They're easier to feel. But this time, we're going to ask, what is your purpose? Okay, close your eyes. Close your eyes. Now look right here. Now, while you're looking right there, ask that point in your spirit, what is my purpose? Then imagining a big hand coming across and moving you out of the way. Your thoughts are now gone. And in that empty space will come the answer. What is my purpose? As soon as you get an answer, write it down on a piece of paper. Okay, she's writing. Okay, what was your answer?
To show love and kindness.
Woo, 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 woo. Yes, ma'am. Now, that first answer was what you thought. The second answer was what the Most High communicated to you. In almost every case, what the Most High communicates to you includes what you thought, but it's wider, it's broader, it's in more depth, and it includes a lot of other things that what you thought about does not include. Okay. We have had innumerable students who have all gone through the same exercise and almost every time. What they thought was this, what the Most High gave them was this. Yes, to be a trivalent being, but to demonstrate and experience loving kindness. That is your purpose. And if the Lord says the same and the ancestors agree, you will do that. Now, let's see, what am I supposed to cover? I'm supposed to cover... Okay. One of the things that we just did was to utilize a different area of your brain. We have several different functional areas of our brain that we are never taught to access. Movement is here. Sensation is here. Movement on this side of my body is over on this side. Sensation on this side of my body is over here. Believe it or not, you see back here. You speak and interpret speech right here. A little place called Brokaw's area. You got another one over here called Wernicke's area. That also helps to do that. But one of the things we're going to be doing throughout this course is giving you specific areas of your brain to access for specific functions. Now, according to most scientists, we are human beings and are a different type of species of animal and mammal because of this. But we're never taught how to use it. Now, what don't sound right with that? Everything. You are never taught how to use your brain. Now, you are taught how to do math, how to read, how to write, and how to do all of those things that it is necessary for you to go to work for someone else. And as Sir Kenneth Robinson said in his TED Talk, Start the Education Revolution, we have never had an educational system in this country. We have had a training system. And that training system's whole purpose is to train you to go to work for someone else. This started at the turn of the century in England and Germany, and the United States imported their training system from England and Germany. No Child Left Behind, that's the system we got right now. And Bush, when he put it in, said, No Child Left Behind has the general standards that most employers want in their employees. It's no secret. You're not being educated. You're being trained. And you're not being educated because being educated would make you want to work for you, to do what you thought, to do what you felt, to do what? Your purpose. They don't want that. They want you to work at Ford or Scullins or Burger King. So they're going to train you with just enough skills to do that. We're going to go past that. We're going to give you skills that every human being has and almost none are taught to use. Okay? Great. Now, about 8,000 years ago, in El Cabulon, there came up a group who were very spiritual, and they called themselves the Akan. I came to Cleveland, I'm absolutely certain, to learn how Akans thought and to become Akan. Quad David Whitaker at the Ashe Cultural Center was my mentor, and he taught 2 years worth of Akan courses, just to my particular class. Every other class only took a year. But our class dwindled down in size at the end of the year, and Quad David said, well, there's only 3 of you left, me, Mick, and Michelle, so we're going to wait until next year and start you in the new class. So we went through 2 years of Akan Rites of Passage class. After that, I went and studied with Nana Karintma and then Nana Botwe. out in Bowie, Maryland, and it's from Nana Botwe, who is Kua Operabia's student. And Akua Parabia was the Ghanaian Akan who brought rites of passages to America, to Canada, to the Caribbean, to Europe, to the children of El Kebulan that they had sent off in slavery. The Akan were the first human beings to stand upright on two legs and say, there's only one God, and we are all part of her/him. The Akan taught this monotheism to the Kemetans. Europeans called them Egyptians. The Kemetans taught this same monotheism to the Hebrew, later the Hebrew. And the Hebrew taught it to the world. Okay? The first people to do that were the Akan. And my Akan's enstooling name is Abrafo Kweku Amwa. Abrafo is my title. I told you this before. It means I am a master of life and death. If something needs to die in the Akan cosmology, an Abrafo kills it. If something needs to be healed, an Abrafo heals it. Kweku is my cosmic name, means the bringer of the sweet message that is good to hear. He who brings success to others. It's also called a day name. And Amwa is my last name and simply means the generous. I like that. The Akan say that when every human being is born, you have to go through a specific process. And that specific process involves you going before the Most High and all the ancestors and explaining why you need to be born. There is something that you need to give, fix, prevent, prepare, something in this reality that is your purpose for being here. It must be something that is not only necessary, but your family line has been involved with for generations. The Akan say that if you are approved, and the Most High says, okay, yeah, you can be born, you've got to find your parents. You've got to find a male and a female to come together to allow you to go from the place called Awuo into this reality. Once you find that parent, it's got to be in your family line, and you choose them because they will give you the experiences you need to have in order to develop the traits that you need to possess in order to complete your purpose. So when any child comes to you and says, I didn't ask to be born, tell them you lie. Yes, you did. Okay. Once that's all done, you leave Awuo and you come here. And as you leave Awuo and come here, all memories of that reality are washed from your spirit. Now, I've told everybody I'm strange. One of the ways in which I'm strange is it didn't quite work on me very well. Because when I came here, I remembered not being here. I remember what it was like to be moving in direction of what I now think of as higher or lower concentrations of something. I don't know what it was. But I remember not having a body. I remember thinking my way or visualizing my way from place to place and being with others who were like me. But that's, again, strange. Most people come here and they have no memory of a war. What they do have are 4 different parts of their being. Mojiya. Mojiya, also called Mojida some places, you get from your mother. It is carried in the blood. It is physical. And it makes you part of a particular line. It gives you a physical body. And as all biologists knows, that's who you get your physical body from, your mother. All the proteins, carbohydrates, and fats that we use to create this thing, we get from our mother. And the genetic profile that makes us the individuals we are, we also get from our mother. And that's especially true for, because I'm a male. The chromosomal breakdown of males and females is such that all males are their mother. Because that X chromosome that makes you a male, because your male's an X, Y, that X chromosome has every part of your being on it physically, except for two things that are carried on the Y. At least that's what we've been able to find out so far. Maleness, penis and testes, and hair in your ears. It's called hairy peanut. I got a hairy peanut. Okay. That's what you get from your mother. That's your mojia. The next part of you is called intoro. And this you get from your father. Intoro kind of closely approximate what we would consider to be personality or character. You must have a male or a male role to give you this until you are about 12 or 13, until you start going into puberty. Once you start going through puberty, you will develop your own, but you have to have a male to imprint on in order to develop your own. This is one of the reasons why in our present situation here in America, where we have all these fatherless children and all of these homes that have no fathers in them, the males and the females are constantly looking for males, role models. The males group with other males. The females group with other females, but they're always looking for a male to give them the type of image of what a male should be. Most females end up kind of confusing love and acceptance for sex. And to the largest degree, they will accept sex. They will. They'll accept sex. But what they're really looking for is an intoro. The third portion of your being is called your sun sun. Your sun sun is your ancestor spirit. It's also called the advancing ancestor spirit. This is most closely akin to your mother's line. This is where your purpose is. Something that your mother's people were involved in. That involves your purpose. Let me back up just a second and give you some personal examples. I look like a huge example of my mother. My mother was about 5'1", but thick. All of my uncles, her brothers, were about 5'4", 5'5", but all of them weighed about 220 pounds. They were all thick. I am a big example of my mother. Physically, emotionally, psychologically, and spiritually. I am a bunch like my mother. Where I'm not like my mother is my personality. I'm more like my father. Daddy was a hell of a guy. Daddy was somebody that everybody loved. He had a bar that he went in. Wherever we lived, there was a bar. One bar. He only went in it on weekends, on Friday and Saturday. He only went to the bar on Friday and Saturday. But it was like Cheers, like Norm. When Norm would come in, everybody go, Norm, Norm. That was like my father. My father would go in and everybody say, oh, all right. He was that type of guy. And he always made people feel happy and appreciative. I'm kind of like that. And I get that. I am very much, characteristically, and my character, my personality, I'm like my father. That's my intro. Soon. Now, I didn't realize a whole bunch of this until I was in my 40s and 50s. My mother's mother was called Annie Roan. Now, most people never heard of my mother's mother, the Roans of Missouri. They lived in a place called the Ville in St. Louis, Missouri. I thought every place in the world was like the Ville. How wrong I was. And when I got to be about 13 or 14, I realized not everybody has a hospital 1 block away. And this was an El-Kebulanese hospital. All the doctors, all the nurses, everybody, all the administrators, El-Kebulanese, called Homer G. Phillips. I thought that everybody had a tennis court around the corner. No. I thought that everybody had 4 or 5 schools within 3 or 4 blocks of their house. I thought everybody had a big, huge hotel somewhere near their house. It was one at the end of my block. It was called the Poro Hotel. You ever heard of a woman named Madam C.J. Walker? Okay. They say she's the first El-Kebulanese millionaire. Not true. Because Madam C.J. Walker got her training in St. Louis, in the Ville, at the Poro Hotel. But it was called the Poro Beauty College because it was run by a woman named Annie Malone. Annie Malone, a picture we got up there about Black Wall Street in Oklahoma that pink people blew up and burned down and bombed from airplanes that the United States, I think it was the National Guard loaned them, to bomb this place and destroy all of the auto dealership, hotels, restaurants, and all the other things that they had on Black Wall Street. Almost all of the money from Black Wall Street came from Annie Malone, who started the Poro Beauty College. Madam C.J. Walker got her training at the Poro Beauty College. Annie Malone also had a credit union that she loaned money for El-Kebulanese entrepreneurs. Most of the ones at Black Wall Street got their money from Annie Malone. Annie Malone's best friend was my grandmother, Annie Roan. Now, I knew absolutely nothing about this. I did not know that we lived 1 block, not 1 block, we lived in the middle of the block from where her Poro Beauty College was, where her Amethyst Theater was, another Kebulanese business, where Billy Burke's restaurant, the best restaurant on the planet Earth. Homer G. Phillips Hospital, Annie Malone's nursing home was right next door to the nursing school that I went to and got my RN. But the Roans were into education. My great aunt, my grandmother's sister, we could have called her auntie, but her name was Josephine. She was principal of Charles Sumner High School, which was the first high school for El-Kebulanese west of the Mississippi. My family had always been, that part of my family, my soon, had always been into education, had always been into training and helping people. That was what they did, and that's what I did soon as I got to this reality. Soon as I got here, I started teaching people, primarily my younger brothers and sisters and all the other neighborhood kids. They would all come to my house. We had the most kids. 9 sisters and me and my brother, yeah, we had the most kids. Yeah, the Browns were close, so the Browns had 9, we had 11, and the Scots, which weren't really on our block, had 21 children. But they weren't on our block. We had the most kids on our block, so everybody came to our house, and I was always there teaching something. That was my soon. I didn't understand what that meant. I didn't understand what I was doing. I just knew that this is what I should be doing, and it felt good to do it. I felt like I'm doing not just what I'm supposed to do, I'm doing what I like doing and what I'm effective at. The last portion of your being is called the okra. And it's just like okra, but you just roll the R, okra. The okra is your God spirit. I'm going to give you a little bit of your okra, then I'm going to go back to the sum sum because they are tied up intimately together. Your okra gives you the ability to do anything you can imagine. It is the portion of our being that allows us to imagine an image, give that image to our minds, let our minds work on that image, give what our minds have come up with to our bodies, and make our bodies make the image that we created in our spirit. But in order to really use your okra effectively, you have to have a sum sum that is clear and undistracting. Now I say that because many times, come to think of it, most times, in this reality, children are the prey to their parents. Children are given a whole load of standards, objectives, and to some degree, wishes for their life that may or may not have anything whatsoever to do with their purpose. There's a book by John Steinbeck, one of America's great novel writers, called The Grapes of Wrath. Almost every book John Steinbeck has ever written has been made into a movie. Grapes of Wrath was about the Depression. And in the Depression, a whole lot of people, because of ignorance, that's the only problem human beings ever have is ignorance. Well, ignorance and stupidity, which is a variety. But because of that ignorance, they did not know how to replenish their soil. They kept cultivating and growing the same type of plants in the soil. They didn't know nothing about crop rotation or anything like that. They ruined the topsoil, especially when the wind blew it quite away. And in the Dust Bowl, Oklahoma, Texas panhandle, they would lose their topsoil in 5 minutes. The storm broke through there. So the Oklahoma people, called the Okies, had to get up and leave, and they went to California. John Steinbeck's The Grapes of Wrath talks about what happens when these Okies, I think it was in Utah, stopped for a time in Utah. And they went to a government installation that had food. Now these people were starving. And the government had these surplus supplies of food that they would not give away to people who were starving. The Okies went there and surrounded this place. And Steinbeck talks about the emotions and energy of a people whose will, desire, and purpose is thwarted. When that purpose, desire, and will is thwarted, the people produce an energy. And that energy is called the grapes of wrath. Now, we do the same thing to our children. And it just occurred to me that I got to sing a song about it. I might sing a song about it. I just need to. This is a song by a young man, thank you, sweetheart, by the name of Mississippi Charles Bevel. Sippy, as he's like to be called, wrote a song called Out of Season. But it's actually about the grapes of wrath. And that's what I call the song. Blessings of Slavery, my novel, on page number 3. Mississippi Charles Bevel's The Grapes of Wrath. Let me do that for you quite briefly, a cappella. Baby's coming to this world, not a season. And even if we don't They know the reason, and the one who sends them gives them gifts to carry. Tells them, children, take your time, but do not tarry. You will all arrive but naked, equally endowed to make it. You should have everything you need when you get there. But you should never have to eat the grapes of wrath. You should never have to eat the grapes of wrath. Gods and babies, they don't know how we are divided. If they did, to send them never would have been decided. Red and brown, black and white are how we part them. Rich or poor, high or low is how we start them. Why do we make those distinctions when we don't have an inkling of what each child will bring or how they'll share? We just take their gifts and crush them like we don't care. Then we send them out to harvest the grapes of wrath. Yes, we send them out to harvest the grapes of wrath. There's a musical interlude here. Yes, we send them out to harvest the grapes of wrath. Yes, we send them out to harvest the grapes of wrath. So we all get in line for a young one. Some will grab 10 or 12, some will get none. And the children chose by rich ones will be pampered, while the children left to poor ones will be hampered. Why do we act like such heathens when every known religion teaches us each and every child is in our care? But we take their gifts and crush them like we don't care. Then we send them out to harvest the grapes of wrath. Yes, we send them out to harvest the grapes of wrath. Oh, oh. That's the grapes of wrath. And it talks about how we put our fears, our crushed hopes, our lost purposes onto our children. And instead of honoring them as beings here with their own spirit, their own mind, and their own being that tells them what they're supposed to be about, we inflict our own disappointment on them. And oh yeah, just about every time I sing that song, I cry. I ain't trying to hold Jack back. I'm gonna let it flow. Okay. Now, one of the other things that the Akan teach you, and that Quad David taught me, was something called libations for the ancestors. And it goes with something like this. Now, I'm going to speak about 3 languages right here. I'm going to speak some Twi, some Shantae, and maybe a little French, in addition to English. But I'll try to interpret all this stuff for you. But this is an Akan libation. Ago! Amen. Ago! Amen. Ago! Amen. Inyame, odomakama, a twilipon, a saseya. Oh, no. Insomafo. Martin Abusiafo. That's my Mojia. My mother's maiden last name is Martin. Inyame means only God who knows all things. Odumakima means he who makes all things. A treaty poem. A treaty poem means she who I can lean against and never fear being let down. Asasiya means Earth Mother. Oh, Nananon, old ancestor that I know of. Insamafu, that means ancestor, and then you say whichever group you're talking about. And I'm talking about my mother's family first. That's my Mojia, so I'm going to say Martin. Insamafu, Martin, Abusiafo. Insamafu means ancestor, Martin, Abusiafo means family. So it's ancestor of the Martin family. And when I do that, I'm visualizing all of my ancestors from my mother's family. And I think to myself, Mojia. Then I give them a 3-word label. And because all of my mother's family was preachers and masons and carpenters and electricians and plumbers, I called them the spiritual builders, healers, because my grandfather was what they call a root doctor. We would call him an herbalist. My mother was a nurse. So I called them spiritual builders, healers. And then I visualize them and I thank them. Visualizing them and thanking them is a spiritual process. So you do it with images. The libation goes on. Oh, no, Insamafu Woods, Abusiafo. That's my father's family. Woods, Abusiafo. This is my intoro, and the 3-word name that I gave them is grateful, appreciative lovers. Because my father was grateful for anything. He could find happiness in the smallest things. He was always someone who brought happiness and joy wherever he was. Grateful, appreciative lovers. And then I thank him. No. Insomafo Roan Abusiafo. That's my mother's family. That's my Sun. Their 3-word name is Master Student Teachers. And then I thank them. Last, no, not really last for me. Oh, no, Insomafo Majors Abusiafo. That's my father's family. I'm sorry, that's my father's mother's family. That's their last name was Majors. And the 3-word title for them is God's essential material, or God's essential component. That's what it is, God's essential component. Because all of them were hybrids. My father's mother, you could not tell that she wasn't pink. When I saw pictures of my father's mother on his nightstand table, I asked, Daddy, who's that white woman? Looked at me, that's my mother. She looked white as hell to me. That was his mother. And we are, through my father's mother, related to a group of pink people called the Benberries. I believe they're Irish because I'm 11% Irish. My wife's 11% Irish. So I say something for the Benberries too. And for the Ben Berries, I go separation, transition, incorporation. Because that's the 3 stages that everybody must go through in rites of passage. When you mature from one level to another, you go through a level of separation from the level that you are at, transition between where you were at and where you're trying to be, and then incorporation into where you're trying to be. Last but not least, I thank Nana Akua Operabia and Nana Yao Operi Denizulu. All this stuff we will send to you. I thank them because they were the ones who brought rites of passages and knowledge of how my ancestors were, what they did, and how they should be remembered to America. She was the Akan who went to the Ghanaian government and said, we owe these brothers and sisters of El Kebulan a debt, and we need to try to be paying it. And the least we can do is give them some understanding about who they are, their ancestry. And that was what that was. Okay. Any questions? Too many.
Yeah.
Give me one quick.
Your family history when you came up with the 3 names.
Uh-huh.
Did you ask the Most High if you didn't know?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Well, what I would normally do is think. And I would think of something that described them. And then I would say to the Most High, is that correct? And the Most High would tell me yes or no. Should I use that? Yes or no? That's what I was telling you before. I like to ask questions that have a yes or no answer. It's much, much, much easier to understand that. And all of the students use that constantly. I have used that for the last 10 years. My wife has used it for about the last, 7, 8 years. Have you ever got a wrong answer? Have you ever got an answer that didn't work out exactly the way you wanted to?
No.
You never do. The Most High knows everything. And all you got to do is listen, get you out the way, and be obedient.
I may not always accept the answer when I hear it, but hear it, feel it, see it. But I feel faithful that it's going to work. It doesn't have to work the way I want it to work.
Absolutely.
But it's going to work.
And it's going to work out for the best.
Yes.
Always.
That's it.
Well, with your ancestry DNA done, did you all get your? You did.
Yes, we got Ancestry plus DNA. We should have got 23andMe, but that's something we're planning to do right very soon. We heard 23andMe is doing a special where it's normally $100 to get your DNA. They were going down to $50 if you brought in 2 people. So you give them half price. So we're gonna see if we can get a whole group and get
I
them
haven't had it
a lower
done, but
price.
I've been considering.
Yes, ma'am. Well, stick with us. We're going to see if we can get it for you at half price. When we got ours done, there were several things that were known and understood. My wife has some Native American background. She also had, some Southeast Asian background. She shows that she was once, our ancestry was from Japan. One of the things about me that I kind of knew but didn't understand was that before there were countries, the first human beings were not known or noted by what country they were from. They were simply called hunter-gatherers. The first human beings make up 11% of my DNA. I haven't yet found anybody who has any hunter-gatherer DNA at all, let alone 11%. But I kind of knew that, and everybody who knows me kind of knows that I'm an old soul. I've been here and coming back and doing this for a long time. I got information that I've never been told, I've never been instructed on, but I just know it. And one of the reasons is I got old DNA, the first human DNA. When I went down to Bowie to study under Nana Butwe, she did a year-long spirituality course. And as part of that spirituality course, we got a numerology report done by Dr. It wasn't Mitchell, but it was something like that. At any rate, it was me, Mick, OG, Humble, D. It was about 5 or 6 of us it was about 9 because she had, some of her people did it too. Of all those people, when your numerology is done, you have something called karmic debt, which means things that you have to learn here in this life before you can be successful and move on and stay in a wuo. I was one of the very few, I don't think it was me and Humble, who had no karmic debt, none. This is my last time in life, in this reality. Once I leave here, I ain't coming back. I'm gonna stay in a wuo. The numerology report also said that I am a master teacher. Duh. It also said that I have 3 other masteries: communicator, artist. I think there's one more. Maybe musician. I don't know. What do you think? Okay. That's a con. That's libations. Now we're going to get a little bit more personal. Any other questions you got on that right now? Okay. Because we're going to move into you as a being. Now, unfortunately, when I started first formatting the Trivalent Understanding, I was the medical director of Cicely Island Medical Center in Cicely Island, Louisiana. I was vice president of primary care for the state of Louisiana. I later was the state of Louisiana's representative to Congress during the Meese Commission hearings at McCormick Center in Chicago. But I'm telling you all that because there were lots of things that kind of bothered me as medical director, and one of them was that a lot of people did not understand how to wipe themselves when they peed. Okay, let me explain this to you. A female has a problem that will kill her. If a female is wise, is lucky, and is smiled on by the Most High, she will live a long time. If a female lives a very long time, the most likely thing that will kill her is an infection. Generally, that infection will be of the kidneys and the urinary system. In most instances, she will give that infection to herself. Most females who live a long time actually die from suicide. But they die from suicide because of their elbow. Now, and people ask me, why is that, Doc? Why is that? How am I going to kill myself? Because of my elbow. Well, your elbow, medically, is what we call a hinge joint that operates on 180 degrees in the anterior-posterior plane. What all that very expensive language means is your elbow does this. This is what your elbow does, and this is what it's going to want to do unless you stop it. So when females go to the toilet and urinate, unless they stop it, their elbow is going to do this. And what that's going to do is that tissue is going to hit around your anus. It's going to take some germs from around there and bring it up into your urethra. I didn't think that this was a problem because they told us it wasn't a problem in medical school until I read the research and found out, yes, the hell it is. So I taught women to not do that. But unfortunately, The hardest thing for a human being to do is what? Don't you answer. What is the hardest thing for a human being to do?
Follow instructions.
That sounds logical, but no. No, believe it or not, the hardest thing for a human being to do is to break a habit.
Okay.
Because habits are subconscious. That's why they're habits. You don't think about them. You do them automatically. And if you don't think about it, your elbow's going to do this. In order to break a habit, you got to first become conscious of it. And then you have to decide that you're going to alter that habit in a way that is beneficial. So, I taught females, if you remember our rhyme, you get it right every time. You got to start at the top, go down, and let the tissue drop. You get another piece of tissue. Start at the top, go down, let the tissue drop. If you do that, you won't infect yourself. Now, believe it or not, in Louisiana, a whole lot of women didn't want to hear that, and they became embarrassed. And I had asked all the pastors in the area to give me 15 minutes in each Sunday sermon to talk about health and history. One church came to me and said, Dr. Woods, we don't want you to come up here and talk no more. I said, why not? And they said, because the women are embarrassed. I said, okay. Why are you embarrassed about a normal human function that if you do not understand will kill you? I don't know, but they obviously felt that way, and I did not go back and teach them jack. That's all right. They did not benefit. That's the problem with being stupid. You don't ever advance. You don't ever become enabled if you're stupid. Ignorance is not understanding. Stupid is not wanting to understand. But this whole thing sent me to writing a pamphlet I called Toilet Time. And Toilet Time was about taking your normal habits and maximizing them so that they are not only more beneficial for you, but you are now conscious of these unconscious habits, and you have the option to change them so that they are much, much, much better. And since I started off with this urinary thing about how to wipe yourself after you pee, I said, well, in today's world, when you go to the toilet, it's about the only time you're going to be by yourself. So when you're by yourself, with yourself, use some time for yourself, or else you got nobody to blame but yourself. So I made up a whole bunch of different maximization techniques for daily habits. I got one for when you wash your face, one for when you shower, another 2 or 3 for when you go to the toilet, a couple for when you brush your teeth. Let me give you a few examples. You have learned vector augmentation. Do you shower or bathe?
Bathe.
You bathe. When you bathe, how do you bathe yourself? Where do you start? Where do you end?
I start with my face and put myself way down.
And do you, okay. Vector augmentation says that's wrong. You should start at your feet and work your way up. You understand that now. But now you've got to put it into practice in the habit that you have already established so that you can maximize the benefit that you get from that. Okay? How do you brush your teeth?
Side to side.
Uh-huh.
Side to side.
Okay.
And.
Okay. Do you use toothpaste? Good. So you put toothpaste on the brush, you side to side it, up and down it, in it, and then what do you do? Rinse it out and spit it out. Okay. That's normal. That's what you're taught. That's stupid.
Okay.
Let me explain. You use a toothpaste, right? Why?
Told that's what clean your teeth.
Yeah, it cleans your teeth. It cleans your teeth. It whitens your teeth. It prevents cavities. Yada, yada, yada. The longer this stuff stays into contact with your teeth, the better it works, doesn't it? Mm-hmm. So why do you rinse it out right after you put it in?
Okay.
Stupid, ain't it? What I teach people is when you go into the toilet first thing in the morning, the first thing you do is brush your teeth. Now you stop. Rinse your toothbrush out, clean it, put it down. Now you wash your face. Now you do all the rest of the stuff while this stuff is still in your mouth working. You can make this work 5 times better just by adjusting this simple technique. Sound logical?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. The truth usually is. Okay. 2 other things. You don't have this problem, but most Americans do. They are overweight. And they're overweight because of how they eat. Now, notice I did not say what they eat. I said how they eat. The last meal that you had, last night's supper, what you eat?
Mashed potatoes and meatloaf.
Good. Oh, that sounds good. What kind of vegetables you have?
Spinach and corn.
Woo! You're making me hungry. What'd you drink?
I didn't have anything.
You didn't have anything to drink. Okay. Now, that's not bad, but that's not good. Because most Americans drink something with their meal. Some sort of beverage. Generally, it's a juice, a pop, or tea, or something. Some people
I normally have sweet tea.
You normally have sweet tea, okay. And most Americans do that. That's not biologic. The whole purpose of digestion is to make proteins, fats, and carbohydrates water soluble. The more water you put in with your meals, the easier that is. When you start thinking about food, your body starts producing water, you call it mouth watering, saliva, to prepare your mouth and your digestive system for the food that you're going to be taking in. Now, there's only 2 things that are absorbed out of your stomach: water and alcohol. Everything else is absorbed in your intestines. That's important because you need to put water in when you put food in your body. This will decrease the amount of mechanical agitation you need to digest the food. This will decrease the amount of acids and enzymes you need to break this food up. This will decrease the time that's necessary for you to digest and to consume these things. But much more important to most Americans is the fact that it also decreases the amount of calories you can consume. Now, let me say that one more time and then explain it. It's called using water effectively, and it decreases the amount of calories you can consume. I told you I come from a big family, 9 girls, and me and my brother Kerry. And sometimes we didn't eat. Some days we didn't have any meals. My father was a laborer early in my life. He was also a cook, damn good cook. But what we learned very early as children was how to get full off almost nothing. What we would do is take some bread that we usually got from the day-old bakery, Hooper's Bakery around the corner. We took it out of their trash, and we cut it up, and we ate it. We would take that bread and toast it, and we eat toast, drink some water. Another bite of toast, drink some water. After every mouthful of food, we drank water. What that did was the food and the water hit our stomachs at about the same time. The food absorbed the water, and it swelled. This is called causing the food to have a higher satiety value, which means your stomach is fuller. You cannot, this is the 3rd time I'm saying it, you cannot consume the same amount of calories when you use water effectively. Take, for instance, you have a meal. Mashed potatoes, meatloaf, some spinach. You eat it. Say it had 650 calories. Your body now has to get rid of 650 calories. It's got to burn it off as energy or store it as fat. A little bit for glycogen too, but basically. You're gonna have to deal with 650 calories. Take that same meal, and now you get an 8-ounce glass of water, and you use that water effectively. Mouthful of food, sip of water. Mouthful of food, sip of water. Now that food's sucking up that water and it's swelling in your stomach, you will not be able to consume the same volume because now the volume is bigger because you've used the water effectively and you're full before you get to 650 calories. And you don't change anything that you eat. You just change how you're eating it. Most Americans, again, are obese. One of the reasons is we got a jacked up diet, but the other reason is nobody's taught us how to eat. How to eat. And generally, it's one of those habits that we utilize because we are thinking about 1,000 other things rather than how I am eating this food. We're thinking about the bill we got to pay, or what I got to do tonight, or the work I got to do, or that no good mate of mine ain't doing right, or 1,000 other things as we are consuming food. Also, Americans eat food too fast. Average time that American spends eating food is 76 minutes. Just for example, the average time a Frenchman uses to consume food in a day is 144 minutes. The average time for an Oriental is 168 minutes. Americans, fast food, yeah, and fast eating. We spend very little time at all enjoying, appreciating, and actually eating the food. Get it in, get out. Not only do you not have an appreciation, you don't digest as well. You end up with a whole bunch more intestinal and abdominal problems. Your bowel movements are irregular. I'm sorry, that's one other thing that using water effectively does. It regulates your bowels. It does. Okay. One last thing. How much time we got?
28.
It's what,
3:28.
Oh, I got plenty of time. I got plenty of time. And at least another 20 minutes. I got it. That's about what I'm going to do. Okay. She's got to be someplace at 4.
Mm-hmm.
It's
She
3:28.
needs me to take her at 4.
No, she needs to be there at 4. Okay, then we're going to wrap this up real quick. Okay? All right. For the last week, when you wake up in the morning, do you feel rested?
Some days.
Some days. Out of the last 7 days, how many days?
4.
4. So about half the time you rested, you woke up feeling rested. And the other half the time, you didn't. Okay. There's a big difference between sleep and rest. Rest is relaxed sleep. Most people consider just the time that they sleep, and they don't really consider the quality of their rest, because your body has only one switch, and that switch has only 2 positions. There's one switch that says on or off. When that switch is in the on position, all of your body's efforts are directed toward functioning, thinking, moving, creating, whatever your body is using to function, whatever your mind is focused on, whatever your spirit is envisioning. On position. The other position is the off position. And the off position is when you use that same energy that you would be using for functioning to heal, repair, replenish, and replace. And that only happens when you rest. That doesn't happen when you sleep. That only happens when you rest. And everybody, to some degree, knows this, though they don't understand it, because you know when you wake up in the morning and you feel like, I ain't had no rest at all, your body breaks down more easily. Things that should be being healed or repaired don't happen as quickly, don't happen as well. You not only seem to have very, very low energy, your brain doesn't work as well, your body doesn't function as well, and you can't seem to enjoy anything that you're doing. That's all due to lack of rest, not sleep. Relaxed sleep. When you have those mornings when you don't feel rested when you wake up, it's generally due to one or two different situations. Does it take you longer than 10 minutes to get to sleep once you get to bed, once you go to bed? That's called DFA. That's a medical term. And it stands for difficulty falling asleep. Real simple. But medicine and health and everything is real simple. Pink people just make it difficult because to them it is difficult. They don't think well. The other problem is you will get to sleep, and then 3 hours later, you'll wake up. And I'm seeing you nod your head right now. Okay, that's called EMA. That stands for early morning awakening. DFA means that you're worrying. Instead of relaxing and getting to stage 1, sleep, you only rest when you get to stage 3, sleep, by the way. But instead of relaxing, you're worrying. You're thinking about something that went on during the day, or a problem that you got, or again, a bill you got to pay, or that no good mate of mine ain't doing right, or how I'm going to solve this, and so forth and so on. That usually leads to you not being able to get to the first 3 levels of sleep easily. Now, the other one, EMA, happens when you have had a problem or really a psycho-emotional trauma that you have not dealt with. Let me give you an example. Say you woke up this morning and you want to eat cornflakes. And you went to the cupboard, you pulled down the cornflakes, and you got your bowl, and you poured your cornflakes in there, and then you went to the refrigerator and opened it up, and you grabbed the milk container, but there wasn't no milk. Okay, you walked down to the corner store, it's right on the corner, and to buy you some milk. And as you were coming out, you saw your Uncle Joe, who lived around the corner, and he told you Aunt Suki, his wife, was sick with the flu. Now, you came home, you ate your cornflakes, you went all the way through your day, you got ready for bed that night, you laid down, and you went to sleep. Soon as you got past stage 3 sleep, you would come into a stage called REM, rapid eye movement sleep. And you know when somebody's there because they will be doing this. Their eyes will be closed, but you will see their eyes moving around like this. This is where you dream. But this is also where you make memories at. And your mind, your subconscious mind's job is to create those memories. So as soon as you get to that stage of sleep, your subconscious mind wakes up. And it goes through what you did that day. Okay. Well, you woke up, you brushed your teeth, and you showered. That's here pretty much every day. It's not important. Let's just put that aside. And then you went to eat breakfast. Well, you eat breakfast every day, so we're not going to need to file that. But you didn't have no milk for the cornflakes. Oh, my God. Well, that's important to you. You like your cornflakes. So let's file that. Let's file that under morning. Let's file that under breakfast. Let's file that under cornflakes. Let's file it under milk. So whenever one of those subjects came up later on, you would remember, I got to make sure I have my milk for my breakfast or my cornflakes, because that's where your subconscious filed that information. Okay, you went on through the day. Okay. Oh, you went down and got your milk and you saw Uncle Joe. Okay, Uncle Joe, he lives around the corner. You see him most of the time, so we just put that over here, not to be filed. It doesn't need to be put anywhere. But let's change the game. Let's flip the script just 1 second. Say when you were a child, your Uncle Joe sexually abused you. And every time you see him, those memories play back through your mind. You have not really dealt with that sexual abuse effectively, and what you have done is repressed it, pushed it out of your mind, which is the first defense mechanism all human beings have for anything that disturbs them. So this time, okay, your subconscious comes online and it goes through and it files all the stuff. Oh, but you get to Uncle Joe. Oh, yeah, Uncle Joe. Oh, I remember those things he did. No, I don't want to remember. I don't want to think about that stuff. Your subconscious knows that you are now uncomfortable. psychologically and spiritually. It knows that you don't have to be that way. And it has a mechanism for you to stop all of that emotional turmoil. And that mechanism is for you to wake up. And it will wake you up. Suddenly you won't know why you woke up. You might get up and go pee, but that ain't why you got up. That's not why you woke up. You woke up because your subconscious was dealing with something that you had difficulty filing, difficulty handling, and the surest way to stop you from having the turmoil is to wake you back up. Every time you get to that point, that will happen. And you will wake up after about 3 hours. As soon as you get in that REM sleep, that's why it's almost always 3 hours. That means that there is something in your subconscious that you have not filed, that you have not dealt with effectively, and your subconscious is waking you up every night or most nights when you start to pursue it, when you start to visualize it, when you start to feel it. Okay, we're about through. I'm just about through. The last thing I need to tell you is the vectoring. The vectoring that we do every day, it's important that you feel it, and it's very, very important that you visualize the feeling. Because what we're going to do eventually, when you get into the second phase, if you decide to go that far, is to get you to spiritually vector yourself, where you don't have to touch you. You can do it just by imagining it. And believe it or not, what my research has shown is spiritual vectoring is better than physical vectoring. It's more effective. Okay? Any questions?
No.
Class is officially over. Hold on. But there is one additional problem, and that problem is the trivalent understanding noetics. Because most people are not taught these things about themselves, they don't know these things about them. They don't understand these things about themselves, and they never learn these things about themselves. Most people have a problem liking themselves. They don't know about the blessings of slavery. I thought slavery was an awful, awful thing, and I felt bad that my ancestors were slaves, and that made me bad. I did not learn of the blessings of slavery until I'm 50-some-odd years old. The problem is that most people go through the vast majority of their life not understanding any of this stuff, not liking themselves at all, and then trying to get in relationships with folks who are supposed to love them. It's very, very difficult, if not impossible, to love someone else when you don't love you. So OG Saints has got a song that we're going to send you off with, called How Do You Love Someone Who's Never Learned to Love Themselves? But till next time, this is Baba Amwa sending you off with the words peace, which stands for proper education always corrects error.
How do you love someone who really don't love themselves? When every time you try to give part of the heart, it seems to disappear. Because the first rule in life is you gotta be able to love yourself to love anyone else. You know what I'm saying?
How do you love someone who doesn't love themselves? How do you love someone who's loving someone else? How do you love someone without loving yourself? How do you love?
Have you ever been in love with the thought of being engaged with a perfect picture you painted in your mind of how it's supposed to be? I can't explain the delusions of false intentions you mentioned. Your body language keep flinching when you get close to me. You said you love me, your heart is totally disfigured, trapping all of these pictures you got hanging in your gallery. I taste the blood in your fears, strain through the mud of your tears that keeps on falling through the pain of our telepathy. Although you try to deny it, burn through the flames of the fire, you keep displaying you've been hurting your relationship. You keep repeating these cycles cause you refuse to be idle. Changing the words in this Bible that you've been stationed with. You keep on running and falling down to the pavement and crawling. Life's been okay. You can't tell me what you're looking for. You find it harder to breathe, gasping for air on your knees. Hide from themselves to the seeds that you've been reaping from.
Love someone who doesn't love themselves. How do you love someone who's loving someone else? How do you love someone without loving yourself? How do you love?
It's hard to breathe when you smother with self-decisions you built without repercussions from facing the music that's pounding as we speak. What if I told you I couldn't shake the positions of causing mental collisions of two people trying to cross the street? Just pay attention, I'm speaking verbal dimensions, contemplating your sentence without talking when I'm trying to teach. I'm not a preacher, my church is only a building with ragged holes in the ceiling that keeps leaking when I'm trying to eat. Now even though I've been trash smashed through the small broken glass, I felt your message when you sprayed them in my damaged halls. I've been condemned ever since, finding the words to repent. Father, forgive me cause I'm trapped in these abandoned walls. I'm trying my best to break free, change the page in these streets that keeps on turning, but the chapter never seems to change. It's like my life is on hold, torn to the depths of my soul that keeps me reaching every time I hear you call my name.
Love someone who doesn't love themselves. How do you love someone who's loving someone else? How do you love someone without loving yourself? How do you love? I remember back in the days when love wasn't just a game we used to play. We had teachings on these feelings with a natural respect for the love and living. Peace and harmony between two entities. High on frequency, feel the energy pulling you here. Yeah. And now since you're here, let me guide you to a better place, cause it's inside you. You gotta have faith and take my hand, baby. Now tell me, have you loved yourself lately? You gotta believe that we can achieve anything can be under G-O-D. Love is health, so come and love yourself. How do you love someone who doesn't love themselves? How do you love someone who's loving someone else? How do you love someone without loving yourself? How do you love you?
No matter what you're going through in life, I want you to always remember that I love you. There's no greater love that lives deep down inside you. Remember, I love you. Just wrap your arms around yourself and hold yourself tight and say, I love you. You must first love yourself before you can love anyone else. I love you. Just take a look in the mirror and embrace yourself with the love God gave you. I love you. Turn to your neighbor, your sister, your brother, and tell them out loud, I love you. Scream to the top of the hills and over the world, that's what God